Welcome to the Clarity Advisor Show, where you'll learn how to grow your team today. Join Ken Trupke and his guests as they discuss what works and doesn't work to grow your team in today's world. And now, your host, Ken Trupke.
Hello, and welcome to the Clarity Advisor Show. Have you ever had things happen to you that at the time didn't seem related, but later you realized they were connected? Well, this week, 3 things happened to me that were encouraging to me on their own. But as I reflected on them, I realized they were even more encouraging when taken together. The first thing is a conversation I had with a close friend about relationships. He has spent years and years studying communication and relationships, reading books and taking courses. But now he's found himself having difficulty in a very specific, very personal relationship. And we agreed that, in part, book knowledge doesn't always translate perfectly into the real world. That, like riding a bike, studying it is very different than doing it. Now, I believe he's going to be fine, especially with this acknowledgement that things aren't going to go according to the book, especially when you're dealing with people. But it also got me thinking about business. I've read dozens of business books over the years and been studying business for decades now. And there are some great concepts out there that I love in theory, like Jim Collins's bullets before cannonballs, the idea that we're going to take small swings at things with limited approaches and limited expense and dollar investment to try things out before we put a ton of money and effort behind something, the cannonball. Chris Voss, labeling is such a strong concept where we say phrases like it seems like blank or it sounds like blank to get a response from the other person, to get more information about what they're thinking. Either they say, yeah, that's exactly what's happening, or they say, no, it's not like that at all. Either way, you learn more about what they're thinking and you can move the conversation forward. It's a way to invest in the conversation to build a better relationship. And then Stephen Covey's Begin with the End in Mind, a classic that we need to think through. How do we want this to end? And then back up from there to now, how do we want to start so that we get that result? But these are all concepts that work really well in the book, and they work pretty well in the wild if you execute well. But again, when it comes to working with people, it's not always as straightforward as it seems. Now, authors are going to write in the book kind of the way it should go, and then you can audible and pivot from there. Same way I'm walking you through things right now, and we're going to need to audit or pivot from there as well, because when people get involved, it gets tricky. So I hope the encouragement to me was that it still pays off to invest, to study and to read and to learn and to try to master your craft, whether that be business or relationships or whatever skill. There's value in learning more, but we've got to always be applying it. And when it comes to people, when we apply it, it's not going to go as smoothly as it does in the book. And that's okay. It's still worth investing in ourselves to try to improve our communication and our interactions with other people. And when we put those things in practice, we just need to be prepared for it to not go perfectly. The second thing that happened this past week was I read something upsetting in a biography of a famous person. Now, I love biographies, especially of famous people, and I've read dozens of them. And the theme that has always come forward to me before was that nobody's life is just up and to the right, that everything goes perfectly, one thing leads to another, good things pile up upon good things. In all the books about famous people, something goes horribly wrong, or they have a terrible start, or something to make it not be this smooth, easy path to greatness, because that's just not how the world works. And we know that from our own lives, but I've always been encouraged by being reminded that that's how it is for famous people as well. Well, I learned something new this week, and upon reflection, that has also applied to the other people, because I think it applies to all of us. And that is that this thing that I read that was upsetting made me not like this person as much as I did before I read this. And then I stepped back and realized We all have flaws. Nobody's perfect. There's something about each of us. It might be something that we recognize in ourselves and don't like about ourselves, or it might be something that, whether we recognize it or not, is genuinely unappealing and people don't like that about us. And that's okay. Again, we're not perfect and we don't have to be. And so what I took as the encouragement was, because this is a universal thing, when it applies to me, is I don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect. We can give ourselves a break. And one thing I've heard as really, really good advice is talking to yourself the way you would talk to a best friend. If a best friend came to you and said, this is what I'm facing, or this is what I did, or this is how I'm feeling about something, what would you say to that person? And how kind would you be? Well, do that to yourself. Be kind to yourself and be encouraging to yourself. And at a minimum, just be encouraged by the fact that none of us is perfect. Even the most famous people who did some of the greatest things had some pretty deep character flaws that weren't very appealing. And that's okay. That's the human condition. Okay, we're going to take a short break, and I'll come back with a third thing that happened to me and hopefully tie it all together for you. So stay with me on the Clarity Advisor Show.
Is your business where you want it to be or on track to get there? Clarity Advisors helps business leaders improve communication and get your team aligned and engaged for greater success. We specialize in helping you streamline your sales and operating systems to improve efficiency and grow your profits. Call or text Ken at 616-822-2998 to have a complimentary 12-minute call to see what some clarity could do for you.
Okay, welcome back to the Clarity Advisor Show. This week, I'm sharing 3 things that happened to me that were encouraging in and of themselves, but I didn't think were connected. And now that I've reflected on them, I see that they are, in fact, connected and therefore even more encouraging. So the third thing that happened to me is someone forwarded to me a video that I'll link in the show notes, but it's by Ed Mylett. And if you haven't heard of Ed Mylett, please get on YouTube and look up Ed Mylett, Mylett. He has great content and a ton of it. And just about any video you find of him is going to be very encouraging and very helpful. So the specific video that was forwarded to me is about how life is like a pinata, that paper mache thing full of candy that is at parties. And the idea here, and he walks through this in the video, is that you've got kids blindfolded, spin them around so they get dizzy, and then you hand them a stick, and they start swinging the stick, and you back up, of course, because you got a blindfolded kid with a stick, and they're swinging it, and then eventually they finally find the pinata. You kind of guide them in with your voice, and then they start hitting it, and now they're hitting it and hitting it and hitting it, and nothing's happening. And then they get tired, and so then you bring in a second kid, blindfold them, spin them around, get them dizzy, and then have them start swinging, and it's feeling like it's not working because you've got kid after kid who's not successful in breaking open this pinata. And even when they find the pinata, they're hitting it and hitting it and hitting it, and nothing's happening until finally something does happen. It breaks and the candy spills all over the ground and everybody wins. So the video walks through that with even more analogies to how it's like life. And the encouragement that I found in that was that you're closer than you think. That in some ways, life and business is about being blindfolded and dizzy, swinging our stick, hoping to hit the pinata. And then when we find the pinata, we're hitting and hitting and hitting and hitting, but it feels like nothing's happening. And then suddenly, everything's happening. It breaks open and all the good things come out. And so I found it to be a very encouraging video. It's like 10 minutes long, so it's not super long, but really, really encouraging about the fact that we're closer than we think, that good things are happening even when it doesn't always feel like good things are happening. So how do these 3 things tie together? How do we link the fact that life doesn't work exactly like it does in the book, that even famous people, when we read their biography, have character flaws, and that we have character flaws, and then life is like a pinata? The point is, what you know is valuable. Even if what you know doesn't work exactly in real life, like it does in the book. And you're not perfect, even if you're applying everything in the book. And you've just got to keep going like the pinata. And it's the same for your team. Your team is not perfect, but they know a lot of things and they're trying really hard. And they're trying over and over and over again, swinging that stick at the pinata, and they're closer than you think. And eventually, things are going to come together in your personal life and with your team. So remember, it's okay that life doesn't work like the book, but that doesn't mean don't keep studying. And it's okay that we all have character flaws. That doesn't mean that there's not also greatness within us and good things. And it's okay to not be perfect. That doesn't disqualify us from being where we are and going where we want to go. And finally, we are closer than we think. Keep swinging, keep trying, keep going. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time on the Clarity Advisor Show.
Thank you for listening to the Clarity Advisor Show. Clarity Advisors is a speaking, training, and consulting firm specializing in helping you simplify your sales and operating systems to improve efficiency and grow your profits. Connect with Clarity Advisors today to learn more about how they can help you improve communication and get your team aligned and engaged for greater success.